Trevor, this month marks 6 years since the original All-In pay-per-view event, the event that helped kickstart AEW in an indirect way, the first ever wrestling show outside of WCW, or after WCW closed, outside of WWE, that was able to get 10,000 people together in North America for that show. Like, so much history involved in that show, so much history around that show. And, like, the wrestlers from that show are scattered all across the wrestling universe. In your own words, how did the original All In, before it was AEW All In, how did the original All In 2018 impact pro wrestling?
Man, like I remember, I remember it really well. And as I'm sure you did too. I think most people were very skeptical about it. A lot of my wrestling friends were like very skeptical about the whole new new wrestling or whatever that's coming out. Like honestly, I kind of thought it was just like an indie thing, and I
It
love
was.
indie shows, and I love indie shows, and it was an indie thing, but I love indie shows, so I jumped on it right away. But it was, I mean, it was new, it was different, like, but you also had well-known people, like you had people from, you had Chris Jericho, you had Kenny Omega. These guys weren't no names. These guys were well established wrestlers. Maybe not to the to the popular fan, but the I mean to the casual fan, but to the ones that actually watch wrestling, we knew who they were. And to see them on that stage and that time, it was a thing to see. It was because like you said, it's been how many years since another wrestling program came on? Like unless you watch TNA or
But
if you
even
watched
TNA, the most
yeah,
tickets TNA ever sold was like 5,000.
exactly. Like if that, and then ROH they were good, but they didn't have big. They had big turnouts. Like,
They
but
didn't, ROH didn't have their first $10,000 or 10,000 ticket sale event until after All In. And that was like, and that was a show. That was like, remember that MSG show they did, the Madison
yep,
Square Garden
sure was. I do remember that.
super
Yep,
card
yep.
they did with like the whole reason that happened though was like the same reason All In did so well is because the Elite, like Cody
Yeah,
Rhodes, Kenny Omega, and the Jackson brothers, like the Young
yeah.
Bucks. That's the reason why All In was so successful. And it was so successful. It was like it sold over 10,000 tickets for a Madison Square Garden show that wasn't associated with WWE. Crazy.
It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. Like I mean, it meant for me. It was one of those things. I'm like, okay, they might have something here. Like they might have something good cooking here. Let's continue to watch this and see how it plays out. And then when Mister John Moxley comes up and decides to, because he was at that show,
Well,
right?
no, he was not. He was still assigned to
Not
WWE.
that one. He was at the following one, right?
That was so All In was like a standalone show that the Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes produced.
Right.
It wasn't not because at that point there was no AEW. Tony Khan was
That's
at
right.
that
That's
show.
right. That's right.
Tony Khan was at that show, and the original All In is when Tony like that light bulb went off and he was like, "This is real."
Yep.
And after
Yep.
that, things moved so fast
Yes,
that
they definitely did.
by December, Trev, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and Cody were gone from wrestling or
Right.
from New Japan
Yeah.
Pro Wrestling, and the next month they announced AEW.
Yeah, it's true. So what pay per view was John Moxley at?
That was Double or Nothing.
Double or Nothing. That's right. That's right. Gotcha. But yeah, man, it was it been a good time for wrestling, bro, and it has been a good time for wrestling since then. Like wrestling has been so good recently. I mean, it's been terrible too, but it's been so good recently. Like in the past couple of years, like we talked about this last week. Like I would have never guessed wrestling would be what it is today when I was watching when I was a kid.
And we're eating good, man. We're eating good, and that original All In was like a reason. Like you go back and look at like some of the matches on that card too. Like some insane names are on that list. You have Matt Cross versus MJF, which opened up the main show. You had Frankie Kazarian, Scorpio Sky versus the Briscoes. You had
You remember that?
Cody Rhodes defeating Nick Aldis for the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship.
Was that the
Hangman,
first meeting or the second meeting?
that was the first meeting.
Yeah.
Then you had Hangman versus Joey Janela, Kenny Omega versus Penta, like Kota Ibushi versus Marty Scurll, Chris Jericho making an appearance the same day. Like Rey Mysterio main evented that show. People forget
Sure
this. The
did.
Golden Elite. It was Kota Ibushi, Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson versus Bandito, Rey Fenix, and Rey Mysterio.
Uh,
That's where we were in 2018.
A lot of people forget that, man. And
So
the pop he
wild.
got was crazy.
Booyaka, booyaka. Boy was bursting out of the boat. Boom. Man. But yeah, no, that's like, it still stands as like one of the most iconic pay-per-views in wrestling history. Like, if I were to like put together like a list of like, pay-per-views or events to watch before you die or whatever, like All In would have to be on that list.
No, absolutely, absolutely. That's definitely one of them.
Yeah.
Like it was that important of a show. It was definitely important to wrestling. Like,
And it was all because Dave Meltzer couldn't keep his mouth shut on Twitter. Thank you, Uncle Dave.
thank you, Dave.
It was so funny. It's like the way that came together. Someone asked Dave, like, do you think like any non-WWE company could sell out or sell 10,000 tickets in North America? Very specific question. And Dave just says, not anytime soon. Cody quote tweeted and said, bet. Like,
Accept.
challenge accepted. And here we are.
Yep.
Crazy stuff, guys.